And hey there, hi there, ho there, and hello there. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast. It is Saturday, January 13th. There is snow on the ground in Louisville for the first time
Brr.
this winter season. The sun
Sorry.
is
This is my
attempting.
growl.
No, it's okay. It's okay. The sun is attempting, um, perhaps fruitlessly, to shine through the clouds. But overall, it's a nice enough day. It's a little chilly. It's going to get colder
Yeah,
before it
gotta
gets
get
warmer.
colder. Mm.
We at least do not have. I think I was on a call yesterday with someone. They were in Chicago. They had 6 inches on the ground already, and it was still snowing. Um, the Buffalo Bills are paying anybody who shows up $20 an hour to help shovel the stadium, starting at 10 p.m. tonight.
Yeah, but they're not giving you a ticket to get in.
Well, if they pay you $20 an hour and it's still snowing when you show up at 10 p.m., you might be able
You're
to
already
afford a
in.
ticket.
Show your ticket. Here's your shovel to shovel your seat out. You know,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, but yeah. So it's nice. Louisville is winning in basketball when they are playing games, which is also nice. They're moving up in rankings when they're not playing games, which is
also nice.
even more nice sometimes. Yeah, that's our brief little intro here. As usual, we'll go around the table again. It's me, Case, not Polly. We are still wishing him the very best in his road to recovery and looking forward to being able to welcome him back to the sideline and to the pages and to the group chat, but understand that it is easier and better to recover when you can contribute all your energies to doing that and not being split doing other things. So let's start with you, Jeff. It's been, or actually, let's start with you, Daryl. I feel like it's been a long time since you've been on the show. And when I wrote that in the article, I was like, wait, was she just on not that long ago? But I couldn't remember. And so you've had kind of a whirlwind. We were fortunate to get you back because you selected a dress on the first try, which is always nice. And so we didn't have to deal with 8 weeks of no Daryl.
Yeah, snow and the weather and all that got me stuck in the house this weekend. Try to avoid having responsibilities or appointments or whatever when it's gross outside. Actually enjoy staying inside sometimes when you have everything you need. You don't have to go out into the world and get it, like Jeff, who has to go out and get his coffees. I got an espresso machine for Christmas, so I'm gonna play with that today. And yeah, lots of wedding related things I gotta fill my weekend mornings with, and so I try to get all that fun stuff taken care of before the this time next year, guys. Is gonna be kind of crazy for me. So yeah, sorry for my absence. Missed you all, but Cards are still in action on the basketball court and doing pretty well. So we're gonna get out there to a few games, even though Paul's not been out there to help me, just get me through the game and make his jokes and make sure Mayor Jerry Abrahamson gets his halftime cookie. So we've been filling in all those duties in his absence, and we're looking forward to him coming back.
I was going to say, are you giving Louisville's former mayor a cookie these days?
Yes, I did do that last time. He came over looking, and I made sure that we were prepared. The last actually couple seasons, maybe we have been, Paul's just kind of a lot slower. So I've been going to get the cookies at halftime just so he doesn't have to exert all that energy. And then he takes the cookies to Jerry. But this time I make sure he gets them from me since Paul's not there.
You're going to have to go get the cookies tomorrow because I will have no idea where I would be supposed to go. So
don't worry, I've got the system down pat. I can grab a few and get everybody taken care of in no time.
I was texting Jared earlier this week, and he was like, "Yeah, you just show up, you park. I can show you the ropes on Thursday." And I was like, "I will not be there on Thursday. If you are expecting me to be, we have a problem."
No, he's just trying to get you out there.
Yeah. It was just a typo. Somehow, his phone autocorrected Sunday to Thursday, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's a good time. We'll make sure you're where you need to be. Go park. Usually, just tell them your name, and they have you on a list, and then you can go eat and get to your seat and watch the cards dominate.
yeah, that's always the goal.
And
Jeff,
do recognize that you're going to be right in front of the band, so you might want earplugs.
eh,
Right in front of the band, right behind the cheerleaders. So make sure you have your like see-through vision goggles
in addition to the earplugs.
Yeah.
and the earplugs. Yeah, like
Gotcha.
no sensory at these games.
The band is on the other end in the women's games, right? From what I'm accustomed to at men's games.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, they're right behind you. Sometimes you'll jump a few times. You might pee a
Yeah.
little. It's just nature of the game.
Basically, the whole layout is flipped because Walls and who was it at the time? I guess Bettino picked different ends of the floor to have the home bench.
So interesting.
They flipped.
Well, I think it's
whole
smart
layout.
to
Does
stay
it-
away from the band.
Well, I wonder, does it have
Yeah.
to do with the? Does it have to do with the locker room locations?
Maybe. Also,
maybe.
well, they moved the women's visiting locker room. Like they make them go out under the rafters and they come out of the hallway where the players or where the media comes out now. Instead of where the band was. The band hallway is getting really small and just more people standing there. And I've seen like some players collide with Louis, which is not a good look. So I guess they just kind of move them all together.
You know,
I'm trying to think of what player
more
it
you
was
know.
that collided with Louis last year. It was a real thing, and that player was not happy. I think they had just lost. I want to say it was either a
Louisville player.
Clemson or a Duke.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, probably wise to reduce whatever chances for conflict there are there.
Yeah, you put
Yeah.
Louis, the cheerleaders, and the band all in the same corner, and then you make the visitors walk through that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then people start throwing hands, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Jeff Darrell called you out. Did you need to brave the 1/4 inch of snow cover that we have this morning to make it out?
We don't even have that much here. There was maybe a dusting, wind blown sort of thing. I will, however, make it worse though. I did go in shorts and sandals.
Well,
Oh my! What on earth?
I mean, it's below freezing, Jeff. Can we not?
But it's
What are you gonna do if your car breaks down?
Cars ain't break down.
It's not. Didn't it just come out of the shop?
Well, that's because someone ran into it. So, I do actually have a maintenance item I need to get it into the shop for, but it's not. But it runs fine. And it's also, it's a 1/4 mile from my house to the coffee shop, so it's like, in that amount of time, I'll be all right. I do have blankets and stuff in my car, so I'm not totally unprepared.
I do make a habit of, if I'm running to like a drive-through that's nearby that I won't need to get out of the car, I won't even change out of my house shoes.
Yeah,
because we have the attached garage, so it's just, well, I'll just go get in the car.
Sure.
If something is to happen, I will just call Lindsay, and she will come the 30 seconds away via car that I am.
Right.
I must be a very panicky person because I could just drive down the street and I'm bringing snacks in case I break down and I can't get out of the car. Like I don't know.
Trapped in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. An electrical wire.
An
electrical wire comes on you.
Off ketchup.
I feel like it's going to be pretty hard to make it so that I can't get out of the car. An electrical wire down would be concerning.
Particularly for you in an electric car.
Yeah, no, that didn't have any real bearing on it. But yeah. I think otherwise, I can get out of the car one way or the other. May have to cause some damage, but
This is 2 weeks in a row that we've gotten quite off track talking about car issues again.
Yeah. Cars suck.
It's amazing what happens when Paul's not here to have us off track talking about something else.
I know, gotta reel us back in.
For me, it's just been another week in paradise. Get to wear all my hats at work, so I thank you, Jeff, for having the midweek right this week. Didn't really have the time to contribute to that. I need to remember that photos have to get into your articles. And I need to remember it more than 3 days after, or sooner than 3 days after the article's up, so that there's no point putting them in there now.
I had totally intended to write that Tuesday evening and forgot Wednesday morning, woke up in an absolute panic. So, but, it wasn't bad. All right.
Yeah, I utilize a to-do list app, and
Yeah.
it has what's the word? I can't think of the right word, but
Reminders,
when you
notifications.
type, it'll like pick up what you're saying to auto schedule and stuff,
Oh, yeah.
which gets very awkward if I'm trying to tell it write the Tuesday Cardinal couple article on Monday, because then it's like, oh, you're writing on Tuesday. I'm like, no, I'm not writing on Tuesday. I'm writing it on Monday. Please figure out what I'm trying to say. I end up getting creative with the way I word it, just so that I
Yeah.
don't have to. If it's gonna schedule it for me and do everything else that I want it to, I don't want to then have to go in and fiddle with settings. So I will just make the task say something very odd in an effort to make it schedule it correctly, so that all I have to do is type. Um, but speaking of schedule, we can go ahead and look at the sports schedule for U of L this week. It is starting to increase a little bit. Tennis is getting on the calendar. Women's golf getting on the calendar. Track and field, we've
Track
talked
and
about,
field, yeah.
have continued their indoor season with some impressive starts, and then still about a month away. I got confused this morning. I almost wrote about baseball as if it was softball, and then realized my error. Um, but it's all okay. Today, the Rod McCravey Memorial Invitational, second day of that event down at the Norton Healthcare Sports and Learning Center. U of L with a pretty good showing yesterday. Some personal bests, some program uh, record numbers, not necessarily first, but getting onto the list. At noon, the reason for Jared's absence, men's basketball taking on NC State in the KFC Yum Center. That one is on the CW, which I didn't end up watching last week's game. So I still don't know how the CW is for a game. Maybe I'll find out this week. Maybe not. I have a birthday party to go to, so we'll find out. On the women's side, tomorrow, Cards taking on Wake Forest. This one will be on ACC Network. It is at 2 p.m. in the KFC Yum Center. It is the Salute to Service game. Monday is a day off. Tuesday, women's golf is taking on Indiana in Naples, Florida. Fun getaway for both of them in a one-day event. Men's basketball is on the road again on Wednesday. They're taking on North Carolina, and that'll be on ACC Network. Then men's tennis hosts Xavier and Bellarmine, presumably indoors, because I think Wednesday is going to be a high of like 20 um, at the Bass Road Tennis Center. It's always intriguing to me. Indoor tennis plays differently than outdoor tennis. Having played both, they play differently, and it's very odd that there's no difference, and
Yeah,
there's
there's
no
no
accounting for that.
differentiation. It is just like they show up and they're like, "What's the weather like?" Well, let's play outside today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's louder. It's more.
yeah,
It's harder. You can lose more balls because there's less running room
yeah,
between the court. It's just it's so interesting that they make no differentiation
yeah. I
between those
noted that
events.
as well. At some point in the past, I was like, "It's wild that they just." I mean, literally, it was just you walk up there and like I was asking. I actually went to one of the meets and like I was asking them, "Is it inside or outside?" They were like, "Well, we're not sure yet. They're
Well,
still deciding."
and I think that they're allowed to move it in the middle of the meet.
It could be, but like between the
as
doubles and the singles.
as long as they're not actively playing matches. Like if it starts
Yeah,
raining, it's like, okay,
yeah,
we'll finish these matches in the rain and then we'll go inside to start singles. Like, all right,
hmm,
sure.
could
But
be. I don't know. Yeah,
anyway, women's basketball back in action on Thursday. They're taking on Clemson on the road. This one's on ACC Network Extra, and it's at 7 p.m. Friday, track another event at the Norton Healthcare Sports and Learning Center. Another event not with U of L listed as the host. We're just going to eventually have every college and university in Kentucky is just going to come to Louisville and say,
within a
we're having the track
3 hour
event.
drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bellarmine is hosting this one. So this one at least makes sense, but still a little bit funny. And that gets you through the week. There's some noon starts and morning starts next Saturday, but those are a problem for another day. An interesting men's basketball event that has not actually been scheduled or TV allocated yet, um, within a week of playing it. But anyway, that's Louisville's schedule for the next week. On social media, I still tweet every once in a while as at best case scenario. Daryl is at Daryl Faust 4. Paulie, when he returns, is at Cardinal Couple. Jeff is at Card Couple Radio and at Jeff McAdams. And Jared still posts his photos regularly, and his opinions about Colts football and other college athletic events as at Mr. Anderson Jared. The best way to keep up with events like track and field, like rowing, swimming, is by following their social media accounts, which I believe we still have lists of most of them on the right hand side of the site. We might
I think
consider updating that.
quit working.
Well, the
Well,
list, the widget stopped working, but I think we might
Oh.
consider updating the list that just goes to all their account pages.
Oh
because of
yeah,
that.
we should probably double check that. Yeah.
That's it. So we've gone through the week that will be. Looking back at the week that was, women's basketball was off on Sunday. They got to benefit from a bit of chaos across the board in the NCAA women's basketball world.
It was chaos.
NC State being the big one that fell, and now I can't recall it. UNC beat Notre Dame. Is that right? So that's the other one.
Mhm.
On the ACC side, there were a couple of upsets on the national side that also allowed Louisville to move up. The Cards advanced to 15th, so just a couple of spots in the latest AP poll. And then they brought that schedule or that ranking in to the KFC Yum Center, or on the road to the Peterson Event Center. I forgot we had no home games this week. On the road at the Peterson Event Center, they took on Pitt, got out to a fast start with a 22-11 first quarter, stumbled a little bit in the second, managing to drop the second quarter somehow to the, at the time, 6-10, 0-3 Pitt team. Pitt kept it close still, 10-point game entering the fourth quarter, and then Louisville just beat the brakes off of Panthers. It was unpleasant, I think, for the 27 people in attendance for Pitt. Daryl, what was your takeaway from this one? I know Jared or Jeff and I talked a lot about Louisville's lesser fourth quarter against Duke last week. This is kind of the inverse, where they muddled their way through the middle portion of the game before blowing the final score wide open. So how did you see it?
Yeah, I was actually ended up asking Jared to bail me out on this one, covering this one. I had something come up, so I will cover it for him next week. So I didn't get the recap on this one. Did get to tune in for a few minutes in the beginning when they were up, like whatever, 10-0. Got out to a pretty good start with keeping Pittsburgh from scoring for a while. I thought they might not score the whole game, but just things that I noticed was just the defense. I mean, the obvious not allowing Pitt to score, but I just, it really stood out to me that the way that the team played as a team on defense, and it seemed like that's when they were having the most fun because they were just taking the ball straight away from Pitt. There was one where I think that they got the rebound or something right under the basket where the Cards had missed, and before they could even take a single step after the rebound, someone, I want to say it was Love, just, like tapped the ball right out of their hand, took it back, put it in and scored. And it was just like, wow, I can just see the not the tables turning, but I could see something turning on for this team as we get into January basketball, conference basketball, looking ahead to the postseason and seeing what they have. I mean, we're already halfway through the season. There is no more time to learn about who's going to be in charge for this team. And for me, I think what stands out is there is not that one person that's going to stand out and be the star. It's the whole team. The team looks the best when everybody's the star. and it's fun to watch. And it's just it's weird. You just see how impressive Jeff Walls is in his ability to get a team to come together and play like one. This is a brand new team this year, and Coach Walls has really brought them together at the right time, and undefeated in conference play so far against had a good win against a Duke team, and it's going to get more tough as the further down the schedule we go. So that's a good. I think the conference scheduling for the team this year was really good. Just without going too hard in January with the best teams in the conference, kind of staggering them throughout the February schedule is just really smart. I don't know who had most hand in making that become a reality, but it seems to work out for the team this year so far. And so, yeah, you see that first quarter where the Cards dominated, that fourth quarter where the Cards dominated, and sometimes wins come down to that fourth quarter. We've seen Louisville teams fall in the fourth quarter, just totally crumble, and we've seen them rise in the fourth quarter. And I'm just a big proponent on that. It really doesn't matter what happens in those first three quarters. It's all that comes down to the fourth quarter. And the Cards really put it on. They said they had no mercy. Won by 30 points over a not very good Pitt team. Just take this one and keep putting more wins, stacking more wins in that win column.
Yeah, Pete Carroll, who quasi retired earlier this week, whatever we want to call that.
Mutually parted
He
ways.
no, he evolved his role from head coach, is what they said, which is like who evolved it? Whose choice was the evolving?
Yeah.
But one of his favorite things to say, and it applies in pretty much every sport. Uh, one of his mantras is, "Can you win the game in the first quarter?" No, you can't win the game in any quarter except the fourth quarter. A couple of years ago, we saw Louisville with, was it a 10-point lead against
Hmm.
NC State entering the fourth quarter, and then
Oh
ended up
yeah, yeah,
losing
yeah.
by 12 or
Lost
14.
by 30 or
Yeah,
lost. They had a 30-10 or something fourth quarter, something wild.
yeah. It just, you cannot win a game in any quarter but the fourth. Um, Sometimes it feels like you can lose a game in other quarters, but uh, other times it just comes down to that fourth quarter. Um, Louisville with a 10-point advantage there, but if they don't shoot 80% in the fourth quarter, um, if they don't get quite so many turnovers, Pitt had 7 shot attempts in the fourth quarter. I
Mm.
don't even know how that happens. Louisville took. It's not like
That's
Louisville
funny.
slowed the game down. They were 12-15 from the floor.
Yeah.
They were just firing them off. But if things go a little bit differently, we're not talking about a 30-point win. You are maybe talking about an upset, or at least some grumble of, well, we started with a 9-point advantage after the first quarter and just let it slip away until we won by 3 or something close. I joked about 27 people in attendance. The official attendance for that game was listed as 868, which may include players and coaches. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
uh,
Jeff Walls was counted in that.
And this
yeah,
this was in the Pete.
yes,
Wow.
yeah. The photo that is included with the game recap is alarming.
Wow.
It looks like they took
I
the
guess
picture.
I guess all other basketball games are in the Pete though, aren't they?
Yes,
They
yeah, I
don't
believe
use the
so.
fits for any. Yeah.
This the photo that is included here. It legitimately looks like the picture was taken during shoot around. There are that many people there. But anyway, mention the defense. Louisville held Pitt to 36% shooting overall, which is not terrible. The first quarter was the best defensive effort from Louisville as far as shooting defense goes. Pitt shot just 23%, but the Cards forced 24 turnovers. They had 11 steals. Um, they had an okay day themselves with only 13 turnovers. It's not great, but they had a 20 to 13 assist to turnover ratio. Assisted on 60% of their made baskets, which is really good. You're not really going to turn that down unless you're shooting, I don't know, 7 of 10 from or 7 assists on 10 made baskets the whole game. Then you'd be like, well, maybe we should have done better. But 66% assist rate, decent assist to turnover rate, and really defensively stifling. They only had one block, which just a little bit interesting. But if you are not allowing Pitt to take very many shots, they only took 44 in the game, then probably not going to get very many blocks. Jeff, what was your takeaway from this one? I know you and I talked a lot about that Duke game in the weird fourth quarter. This the inverse.
Yeah, I was, I was kind of watching it. I was half-heartedly. I wasn't watching it that closely, to be honest, because it was just kind of like, well, okay, we're winning. It's okay, but not by a whole lot. Seeing a lot of the same questions we've had about this team throughout the season. They're starting to be answered a little bit, but some of them are still out there a little bit, starting to pick up on player tendencies, and they're all learning how to play together. But then all of a sudden, I looked at the final score like, holy crap. We ended up, how did we end up with that much of a lead at the end? As I really wasn't, it didn't notice the blowout towards the end. But I think the main thing that I took away from this one, that I saw in this one, I've seen it in the past few games, but particularly noticed in this one, was the smiling, the camaraderie on the court, the interaction between the players. We make some side eye comments about how different that is from last year, and it's true. But it's good to see that it's easier to cheer for a team that's seemingly all getting along with each other. We've had that most of the time with this team, and then a little bit of maybe a little bit of stuff that kind of leaked through. They probably don't try to let it show as much, but it leaked through a little bit, particularly last year. But it's good to get back and just like, okay, these people clearly like each other. They like playing with each other. It's not just they're going out there to get their scholarship money and put up with it. They're really enjoying this, and it's just so much easier to cheer for a team that way.
You think back to the teams that, like I think of Asia Durr, Maisha Hines Allen, Sam Fearing, Erica Carter
Yeah.
out on the floor together, and they're just all excited and happy. And
Right.
when there's some ire on any of their faces, it's at a referee or it's at
Or
an opponent
themselves.
Or it's themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
but
man, I
not
screwed up. I let my team down.
but not
Mhm.
against their team, which, like
Yeah.
you said, has been a little bit less than
Which
that
is not to
in a
say
couple of
there's
years.
not accountability, right? Because you'll see the players talk to them, hey, we need to do this, we need to do that. In this situation, how doing this, this is a better way to do it. Right. There's still that interaction, that accountability, that leadership between various players and understanding there. But it's done with a good heart, good intention, good spirits, and taken that way as well. So man, it's good to see that on the court.
I think part
I,
of it is the
I
way this
agree.
team is built.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We've had a few years, not just the last couple of years, but even going back to when Asia Dur was here. You're looking for offense primarily from one player, and if the team kind of goes as that player goes. Against Pitt, Louisville scored 74 points. They only had 3 players in double figures.
Yeah, it's all by committee. Yeah.
That's what I was going to
And
say. Just the balanced stat sheet, box score, and just the feel of the players as individuals, but them knowing that they're stronger as a team. There's selflessness. There's humility. There's it just doesn't feel like anyone's all about me. I mean, we've heard Olivia Cochran say it. Which she had a great game, another great game against Pitt. It says her 8th straight game with 10 points, 4 for 6 from the field. So Olivia is showing great conversion, like she's able to be consistent and score for the Cards, and she just seems so happy with this team. She seems like she can trust her teammates. She also doesn't have to be out there the entire time. She gets her minutes, and she'll go to the bench and get her rest and let someone else step up and get a few minutes to under their belt. So it's just really fun to watch. I will admit that at the beginning of the season, I was like a little nervous on their ability to come together. But who I act like this is the first time I've ever seen Jeff Walls. I should have known his
Yeah.
ability to bring a team together. It's very admirable, and it's fun if you're a Louisville women's basketball fan. And then the other thing I was going to say is you talked about the how many people were not in attendance at Pittsburgh. I could hear Coach Walls the entire broadcast yelling at his team, which is, they take it with, a good heart. They don't take it personal. They know that he's trying to get the best out of them and bring this team together to go far in the postseason. Um, and the other thought I had while we were talking about it is just I feel like in recent years, when U of L came to town, they went on the road. When they came to town, the opponents' fan bases really would show up. They wanted to see these Louisville teams because they were highly ranked and stuff like that. But just a little different this year. Not able to get more fans out on the road while, we see things like the Caitlin Clark effect and how she's able to get thousands and thousands of visitors at opponents' arenas. So it's just something different I've noticed from recent years, just that this team just doesn't have that player that's standing out from the rest.
Yeah, and it's a little interesting. You mentioned about Louisville usually being highly ranked, usually bringing out a ton of opposing fans, and the Cards maybe are a little bit under. And I don't hate it really.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe a little bit underrated this season. They're 14-2.
Let them be.
Um, exactly. The loss to Alabama, I think, is maybe starting to look worse than it did at that time, just
Yeah.
because they're not advancing. They aren't the same team maybe that people thought they were at the beginning of the season. So that one doesn't look great. And then the loss to UConn got out of hand. But other
Yeah.
than that, they've got 2.5 ranked wins already this season. They are taking care of business against teams they should be taking care of business against. It's a little surprising to see them not moving up more in the rankings. But like we said, this team and Jeff Wall's teams in general have played better with a chip on their shoulder, kind of throughout his tenure. If people are underestimating Louisville, then it may be to their benefit, and if they're not under a ton of pressure because of a higher ranking, then that's better for a team that admittedly is still trying to figure itself out and each other out as the season goes on. You
Mhm.
mentioned the schedule a little bit earlier. I talked about it a little earlier this week as well. Louisville somehow, it seems like it has never happened in the history of Louisville in the ACC in any sport, has received a gracious scheduling from the ACC in this women's basketball season. Um, they only play NC State and Virginia Tech once. They only play Florida State once. Somehow against all odds, and they play most of those games much later in the season. They're still going to have to play Notre Dame twice. They still have to go on the road to South Bend to end the season, whatever. But it's coming up in Louisville's favor that they got to open the season against a decent Miami team on the road, and now that's out of the way. They played Duke, they won
Mhm.
handedly. They played Pitt, they won handedly. Now they're going to take on Wake Forest and then Clemson, and then they get North Carolina, which will be kind of the first test. The Tar Heels suffered their first loss of the season in the ACC earlier this week, but Louisville has plenty of time to get their feet under them um, until they play. Yeah, they're going to play NC State before they play Virginia Tech. There's a good chance that one will be tough. It's on the road, and NC State's still very good despite the loss. There is a chance that on February 18th in the KFC Yum Center, Louisville is playing Virginia Tech for the outright lead in the ACC.
Yeah.
Louisville's not done that in a while. Had a game where they are playing for the outright lead, and so it's interesting to see, and hopefully they can continue taking care of business against the teams they can, and that starts tomorrow against Wake Forest.
Yeah, I was just looking ahead at the February schedule. It's going to be brutal. I'm just kind of mentally trying to think of how many wins they should have and how many, like, I would be disappointed if they dropped. I mean, my gosh, you got to play Notre Dame twice. Uh,
Yeah,
Virginia Tech twice. No.
so
Twice.
they get Pitt at home for the return
Mhm.
match on January 28th, and then February begins. After that match, they'll get Syracuse at home, on the road at NC State. The first matchup against Notre Dame at home on February 8th. Syracuse again on the 11th, that one in New York. Boston College the 15th. Virginia Tech, the big one on the 18th. Georgia Tech on the road on the 22nd. Virginia at home on the 25th. And then the game against Florida State, second to last game of the season, would normally be a March game, but because of the leap year, that's on February 29th.
Mm.
So it's loaded. That I think will be Florida State's last. That might be last Florida State's last game of the season. The Seminoles have already played 6. Like what? Nobody else in the conference has played more than 5, which is Clemson. Clemson is the only other team to have played 5. Eventually, Florida State will get a night off, but it has not come yet.
I'm looking at the beginning of February, guys. We play NC State on a Monday, February 5th, on the road, and then you have a quick turnaround and welcome Notre Dame on the 8th, that Thursday, for a 6 p.m. start. My gosh, that's like what, 48-hour turnaround, not including travel, not including get back in the classroom and maybe unpack your bag. Oof, that should be circled on a lot of people's calendars for sure.
Yeah, Jeff, we've been going off. I hear you chiming in. What are you thinking about the way this team goes forward?
Yeah, no, I was just listening to 2 people talk about stuff that really know what they're talking about. That's nice. Uh, yeah, no,
Is it different from a lot of ACC broadcasts?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, no, I agree with you all. I think we're all pretty much on the same page here. And I talked about the camaraderie and stuff, and that for me is such a big part of it. But we've talked about that, and the I wonder if we were talking about the scheduling and not playing some of the top teams multiple times. I wonder if that I don't know how ACC does their scheduling, but I wonder if that is a reflection of a preseason expectation that this team wasn't going to be that great.
Likely.
Because
It's a big question mark.
Yeah, I know that's kind of been done in volleyball recently, where play every team once, and then the conference picks a specific set of opponents for each team to play multiple times, and there's always been the expected top teams. So Louisville, Pitt, Georgia Tech, Florida State, usually.
Pitt. You caught up in basketball or in volleyball land?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm talking about. I'm comparing it to the volleyball
sorry.
scheduling. Yeah. So all 4 of those we've always played like multiple times in volleyball. So I'm wondering if that same scheduling thought is what's happening in basketball. And it was just like, oh well, Louisville's not going to be in this top 3 or 4, so we'll put them in the middle section of multiple games against other teams, which kind of works out in our favor.
I think
we get to beat on them a little more.
I think eventually that might turn into the committee or whoever's in charge of deciding these things. They'll eventually say, "Okay, let's stop betting against Coach Walls." Like seriously, I mean, this might be the year that is what comes a reality out of his career. You've been here almost 2 decades. He took that team last year that had those star players and weren't expected to go very far. He took that team to an Elite Eight, and just depending on what this team is able to do, it might be the turning point in the critics' minds that it's Jeff Wall's team. It is going to be what it is, and he'll make it worth their while.
Yeah.
Barring any departures, which we are still looking at conference realignment as it's always chaotic. Louisville's going to play one team twice going forward.
Yeah, that's what
if they keep the same number of games.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say we're adding 3 teams next year, right? It's the whole scheduling process is going to be different because you're going to have fewer opportunities for for repeating. You're just going to have more games to get the one game against everybody in there.
There's a chance that the conference moves to 20 conference games.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be terribly surprised about that, but even then, you will lose. Uh, Louisville plays 4 teams twice this season, so you will lose one doubled up opponent if they move to 20. But if they stay at 18, then you're only going to play one team twice, and who knows how they'll decide how that works. I mean, teams are going to clamor if you only have to play one team twice. Teams are going to clamor about unfairness if Virginia Tech plays Wake Forest twice, and um, Louisville and Florida State have to play each other twice, or whatever it ends up being. Um, people are gonna be able to complain about it, which is why I think conferences have gone out of their way to add conference games to avoid that kind of conflict. But if we look at the immediate future, uh, tomorrow's game, Louisville's taking on Wake Forest. The Demon Deacons are not good. Um, 4-12 overall this season. 0-4 in conference so far. Um, Tied with Pitt at the bottom there. They lost to North Carolina A&T 56-51. That is a team that Louisville beat by 40 earlier this season at home. Somewhere along the way, I don't know if it was because they were just overjoyed to be in Hawaii. Wake Forest just found offense one day. They scored 94 points against St. Louis. They beat them 94-66. I don't know where that came from. They haven't scored more than 65 points in any other game.
Wow.
Sorry, they scored 66 against Marshall and 73 in a loss to Virginia Tech. But the 94 point explosion, St. Louis just must be unbelievably bad. But as many favors as Louisville received from the ACC scheduling committee this season, Wake Forest received the exact opposite. They started the season at Florida State. Then they hosted Virginia Tech. Then they went to Miami. Then they hosted Syracuse. Now they're going on the road to Louisville. They get a brief break with Boston College. Yeah, they get a brief break with Boston College, but they'll probably lose that game too. It's on the road. And then they get Notre Dame. Then Clemson. Then they play Miami again. It's just
Wow.
the end is not any better.
Half of a breath with Syracuse in there, maybe, but I mean, Syracuse not bad. I mean,
Syracuse beat them.
Yeah,
77-56. So
yeah, I mean, it's wow.
And then the end is not much better. They play Florida State on February 15th, North Carolina on February 18th. They'll get to play Pitt, then Georgia Tech, Clemson, and then close the season with their only game at NC State. Gross. Ooh. How very unfortunate for Wake Forest.
Yeah.
Louisville should not have trouble with this team. They should not have had trouble with Pitt. And if you only look at the final score, you would think they didn't. But if you look at the quarter breaks, then things get a little weirder. I suspect that we will hope for a 30-point win again. They had a 21-point loss to Syracuse, a 30-point loss to Miami. Only 9 against Virginia Tech. That was a bit of a weird one, and only 12 against Florida State. So in those first 2 games against the 2 best opponents they played so far this season, not just in conference, but against anybody, they showed up. Louisville is the home team, but so was Florida State. Wake Forest is probably going to show up, maybe a bit surprisingly, against a higher quality opponent. And so the Cards need to be ready. And if they aren't, they might get a bit surprised early in the game. I suspect they'll figure it out as the game goes on, but would not be great to be losing after 1 quarter or 2 quarters.
I was looking at Wake Forest's schedule. I mean, Louisville is ranked, correct?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they only put the ranking up after the game.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait,
because they aren't showing any of the other rankings.
Yeah,
either, in the games that haven't been played. I was confused as well.
All right. But I don't know, guys. I think this team, once they come to once that it's all said and done, that they'll get it done. They should have a break on Monday afterwards. I think school is out, so I think Coach Wells probably give the team the day off. I don't think that they want to go into that break with a loss to a team like Wake Forest. It's at home. Um, they all tend to play better at home in front of their home crowd. It's just one of those that I think that you can't lose. You absolutely cannot lose this one, even if they do get behind, which I really, really doubt. I think they'll come out and get their act together, because this is just not a team that Louisville women's basketball can be losing to when it comes down to your end of the season goals. And the other thing I thought about was that Alabama loss when we were talking about it. I'd much rather lose that game then than at the end of the year. So let Alabama have their little win over us. I think it was pretty close, like a 5 or 6 point loss for U of L. Just let them have their little win, and U of L will just grow off of that. Use whatever they learned in that lesson for a potential postseason game that could be close. Losses, I think, are not too detrimental to teams. It kind of just depends on what time of the year they are, and that one was early enough that I think that the committee would just kind of brush it off and not hold against this team. But you cannot lose to a Wake Forest in January at home.
Yeah, you've seen in the past men's basketball do that. It was almost a hallmark of Rick Pitino teams was lose some random game in January
Yep.
that you didn't
Oh
have
yeah.
to lose, and then win 18 games in a row or whatever. Uh,
Correct.
we've not seen that from Louisville women's basketball. When they lose a game that they shouldn't, sometimes things get a little weird. Uh, they might go on a bit of a skid mentally, win the next couple of games over low quality opponents by single digits or something. But like you said, I can't see them losing this game, but I think a poor performance to the team could be as detrimental, not necessarily to the committee, not necessarily to how it looks to the outside, but to the team. A poor performance against this bad Wake Forest team could almost be as concerning
Mm,
as a loss. But
yeah.
you don't know. It'll be. Uh, I think we probably see them come out and dominate, and then we don't even have to worry about it. I said Alabama was not, to go back to that game, I said they were not maybe as impressive as people might have thought. They only have 3 losses on the season. Um, they were undefeated entering that game against Louisville and exiting the game against Louisville, but then they immediately lost to Gonzaga. Um,
Which
lost,
U of L won.
yes, lost a week later again at Syracuse, which I think is what um, threw people a bit. But then they rattled off 6 wins to close their non-conference. Granted, uh, those were games against Coastal Carolina, Stephen F. Austin, Samford, ULM, Jacksonville, Mississippi Valley. Not good teams.
Powerhouses.
Nobody significant. Yeah.
Right. And then they lost their conference opener against Ole Miss. But they've won 2 since then. They're 15-3. Not ranked, I don't think, because they don't have any impressive wins. But this Alabama team might end up being uh, more than they're being perceived as for now. But it was still a bit of a weird loss. I think fans were more disappointed in how Louisville lost than that they lost, because
Yeah.
they didn't look very good doing it. So we'll see how that shakes out. We've got just a little bit of time left, so we can um, open up to a few other events that have been going on for Louisville. Not many, and I'm maybe getting out of my depth with breaking from basketball before I really
You
have
got
my before I really have my thoughts collected about what the next plan was. Um, so we'll swing it to before we leave it. Swing it to both of you, Jeff. Start with you on final thoughts on basketball before we move on.
I think it covers things pretty well. Get out and enjoy this team. They're fun to watch again. Not that they've ever been not fun to watch, but they're particularly fun to watch again. When they're enjoying each other's company, it's just so much more fun. It's such a big deal for me. I see it in volleyball too. So it's great to see that, and get out there and be part of it. Enjoy the dopamine hit.
Same thing, Jeff. If you're a fan of basketball and you're a Louisville fan, the women's side is where you want to be right now because the men's side is tough. But true fans aren't going to go anywhere. But men are not drawing fans out to the arena. So the women deserve that effort, those dollars, those cheers. Um, it's been a long this program has come a long way and given plenty of people to something to cheer about. And like I said, I saw something switch with this team against Pittsburgh. I can see that drive and that energy and that camaraderie with the team, that they are playing for each other, and Coach Walls deserves the fans to come out. We hear all these rumors all the time about coaches leaving or just the program making tough decisions, and this is one of those coaches we just don't want to let go, and we don't want to give him a reason to, and I don't think he has a reason to. I think he touched on it last time we were there in the post game that he wants to retire here, so give him something, give him as much energy as he gives us. He puts in a lot of effort. I think the day after Christmas or something he was out recruiting, looking for future teams. I just don't know how he does it all. So all your job is to show up and cheer them on while they put in all the effort to get those rebounds and put the ball in the hoop. All you have to do is show up. So fans need to get out and enjoy it. I know it's cold. I know it's hard to want to get out, but it's a lot of fun when you get there, and it's just make basketball great again. You get to leave and have a smile on your face most of the time when you're a fan of this program, and they deserve it. They deserve to have fans that are there night in and night out, and this is what's going to keep the future Caitlin Clark's coming to Louisville, or the big players that we're talking about that bring out the crowds. This is how you get it: is you just have a consistent fan base that enjoys the game as much as the players do. So that's my spiel.
I can't place it. I really just don't like Caitlin Clark.
I don't care
Like
for her either.
I don't know why. Like
I know she's a bad mamma jamma. I know that, but
Yeah.
she's incredibly talented. It's just
You look
yeah,
at her,
there's
you have
something
to say she's an incredible basketball player.
yeah.
right.
Beyond that, I don't know
Absolutely.
much about her. So, but
I just
yeah,
You would like her if she was wearing red.
exactly. That's what the problem is. I can't place why I
It's because
don't
she's
have
on
any
the other
problem
team.
with
There you
swagger.
go.
Like I don't. I love it when players are cocky to the point where everybody talks about it, but her, it's just different. I don't
It's
know.
too much. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's because she seems so like nerdy
yeah.
too. Like it's just everything she does is corny. Well, I can't place it. It's not
I
important.
don't know what it is, but the ESPNW Instagram posted it this week. Just a reminder of the hate that she gets. Where when she was still in high school, a group of frat boys decided to go and chant "overrated" at her high school gym,
Yeah.
and that's kind of real gross to me. So I'm gonna cheer for her.
But it's
And
it's
she shut
also
them down
just
real quick.
dumb. I
Yeah, I
mean,
Yeah, it's
know.
like what
she's not
Like,
overrated.
what are you getting out of that?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a weird masculine energy that I don't know. I don't
she's
know.
Yeah.
from Iowa, right? So
Yeah.
like were they like Iowa State guys that I
I
guess
don't
are
know.
now even more
Haters gonna hate,
embarrassed
man.
because their rival smokes them all the time because of her.
Pretty
But
much.
either way.
She shut them down. They stopped booing for her really quick.
Um yeah, who knows. Um looking at some of those other things from earlier this week. I forgot without another basketball game earlier this week, there wasn't much that happened. But swimming is in play. Um, they took on Missouri last week in a one-on-one meet, and they earned some accolades from the ACC, um, both on the swimming and diving side. Surprisingly, not Gabby Albiero, but another Louisville women's swimmer was named ACC Women's Swimmer of the Week. Kim Herkel is a junior. She had three first place finishes, and all three were NCAA B cut times in that matchup against Mizzou. And then Adam Sneeden and Lindsay Gizzy, who is from South Bend, were the conference divers of the week, both of them. So good for UofL Swim and Dive to pick up uh, those accolades. The um, the honor for Herkel was her second of the season. She was also swimmer of the week in the first week of the season, um, earning that on October 3rd. Albiero has only picked it up once so far this season, but Louisville has the tied for the most conference swimmers of the week, with Virginia, Gretchen Walsh being named the conference swimmer of the week 3 times for the Cavaliers. We talked a little bit about it last week, Jeff, but looking for another big um, team win, and swimming might be the team that can provide that for the Cards, and winning these kind of accolades is just another step
Yeah.
on that road.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also nice to see the team picking up some success on the diving side of the equation. We've had quite a bit of success over the years with the swimming side, but particularly, butterfly. It's been particularly known for some having some good butterfly swimmers in the past, but seeing some divers show up to play to dive well and have some success there is a relatively new thing for this team. It's good to see. It balances out a little more.
Yeah, Lindsey Gizzy, actually the fourth winner for Louisville this season of that accolade. Elsie Prasternick won, or
Yeah.
was the co-winner in the first 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, she's had some definite success over the past couple of years in that area. So
yeah, it'll be fantastic to keep up with this team. Like we've talked about, been looking at, and like you just alluded to, individual dominance
right.
from on the women's side, starting with Kelsey Worrell, now Dahlia, and moving to Mallory Comerford, who at one point had, what was it, 15 of the top 18 uh, freestyle long distance times. They showed like the top 10, and it was just all her.
Yeah.
My favorite
Yeah.
is the picture of her finishing the swim, and someone going the other direction is the
Yeah.
only other person you can see in the
Hidden
shot.
for yeah, that's good. Yeah.
That's a good one. But the team has not had as much success um, as the individuals. The sum of the parts was not greater, to put it that way. But with this year's iteration, it seems like, you have good showings from Gabby Albiero. You've had great showings from Kim Herkel and Christina Regenauer and some of the others. But in addition to that, we can say you're getting great showings from multiple swimmers in multiple events, and um, hopefully that's enough to be talking about good team results at the end of the year, not just good individual results.
Mhm.
And the diving side, like you mentioned, that as well.
Y'all want to know a random fact?
Hit us
Pretty
with
sure
it.
Mallory Comerford works at one of the driving ranges in Louisville, and I actually won a contest for some beanie or whatever for them, and they sent it to me by mail, and I got something in the mail one day, and it said Mallory Comerford sent it to me, and I said, and I've totally forgot I won it, and I was just like, why is Mallory Comerford sending me something? Like, what is this? What, you know what I mean? I saw her name on the return address, and I was like blown away.
So it's completely different context than what you say. Yeah.
It'd be
Yeah.
very funny. You're just like imagining if you've already started registering for gifts. You're like, did Mallory Comerford like send me a wedding gift a year in advance? Like, what
Something.
is happening?
I just was like, do you know, to Thomas, I was like, do you know who this is? Do you know who this is? He's like, no.
No, no, no. It's
Okay,
the
but I'll be excited by myself.
yeah, the struggle that that we land ourselves in sometimes.
Yeah.
With that. Other big news, with the NCAA, or with the college football playoff finishing earlier this week. That meant that football rankings were final, which meant that the fall Learfield Cup standings could be finalized. Which the Learfield Cup, if you go to their actual page, goes out of their way to say that um, the midseason reports are unofficial, and that scoring is not official until the end of the season, like until the end of the academic
Yeah.
or athletic year. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
Are you going to change? Are you going to change how the standings finished? 6 months later, like, not really. But Louisville finds themselves ranked 13th. This is something that Louisville has been creeping up in, which is nice. Both this and the College Cup. creeping up in recent years. It's very good to see uh, in these kind of things where we've gotten a bit of lopsidedness from some of the Louisville sports to where you might get a lot of success on the men's or women's basketball side and some outsized success on football and not show very well in these kind of events because the rest of the program is not scoring quite as highly. But um, that's been changing in recent years, even without the most success from some of the uh, higher branded teams, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So after the fall, Louisville earned points from four teams. Volleyball and field hockey led the way with fifth place finishes in their respective tournaments. Um, volleyball picked up 83 points for that. Field hockey only 65 because of the fewer teams that were involved.
Mhm.
Football and men's soccer also scored for the Cards. So you only score points if you make it to the postseason in your respective sports. So some of the other fall sports not involved there, but the ACC had 9 schools ranked in the top 25, which is
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
a lot.
Yeah.
I noted it in the article. Ironically, the Pac-12, second most in
Yeah.
the country. They have 5 teams. That conference will not exist in due time, and so I guess one of those 5 is going to shortly be in the ACC.
Yep.
Um, but it's good. It's good to see the team, um, the program, performing well. It is not just individual team performance that improves the standing for the university, improves the standing for all the athletic departments. You need everyone to be contributing to um, do the things that Tom Jurich was able to do when he started as athletic director, which is upgrading all the facilities. Um, those facilities are coming to the time where maybe they're not the cutting edge like they were when they were built, and so it's time to change that, especially with the other things that are now at play in college recruiting. And so, for all of the program to be contributing to that and increasing Louisville's brand identity at large, when some of their biggest name draw has been letting them down in that department, is good. And with the success we're seeing so far from basketball, we'll hope to continue to increase um, in the rankings uh, through the winter sports. Indoor track and field and swimming and diving should
Yeah.
have
Add
some
to
good
that. Yeah.
some good points to add to this as well. And then hopefully we can see some more points. We've received points from softball last year because they made the NCAA tournament, and so we'll hope that we can get more from that. And maybe lacrosse turns around. Maybe this is the year. We'll keep saying that until it becomes the year, right? So
Manifest it.
yeah, right. Speak it into existence. So a good showing there, and hopefully we can get more, um, have more to talk about as the winter and then ultimately the spring sports contribute to this. Um, that got us there. We've made it over the finish line once more. We didn't have to talk about a shorter show this week because we had 3, which is nice. Even though we didn't do a shorter show last week, but let's move into final thoughts. Now that I've taken the 2 most likely candidates by putting them
That's
in
separate.
actual
You can take
show.
mine.
Well, then since you already have one, Jeff, you've got it lined up. We'll give Daryl
Absolutely.
a few moments to collect hers, and you can go first.
Yeah, a shout out as I did in my Wednesday column. A shout out to the academic side of things. All of the teams, programs within the athletic department, pretty much all of them posted their, academic, average GPA for the fall for the team and number of 4.0s and stuff like that on the social media. Women's soccer edging out this year field hockey for the top GPA. It's usually field hockey gets that one, but women's soccer edged them out on that this year. So congratulations to them. But all the teams, virtually all of them were 3.4 or 3.6 sort of range. Nearly all of them anyway. So pretty good stuff. Um,
7/100ths
yeah, it
on
was
the
really close.
GPA.
Yeah, yeah, it was very close. I didn't see any other announcements of academic All Americans other than Anna DeBeer. I feel like there probably were some in some other sports, but I didn't see those. I did see Anna DeBeer first team academic All American from college sports communicators, I guess formerly the SID group or whatever. So, congratulations to her specifically. She was one of the two 4.0s on the volleyball team. I don't know who the other one is. So,
Because they weren't named academic All-American, so you
yeah,
don't get that.
which is odd. But then there were like, I think soccer had 6 or something, 4.0, something like that. Field hockey had 4, maybe. I don't remember the exact numbers, but
Well, there's more players on those teams.
yeah. Yeah. True. Yeah.
But yes, shout out to the smart cards as always.
Yeah.
Daryl, what do you got?
I don't know, guys. I'm looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Jeff, I didn't hear if you're going to be out there tomorrow.
I will be up at my row CC.
I usually try to look up there, see if
Yep.
I see the hair.
Yep.
So it'd be good to see you guys. I know it's been a while to get us all in the same room, and we'll hold the fort down for Paul. Still just thinking about Paul, letting him take a break and get some rest. Hopefully he knows that everything is the fort is being held down for him in his absence, and he can recover stress-free and sooner rather than later.
If it sounds like we're a little desperate for Paul to be back, it's because we are.
Yeah.
Just in case anybody was thinking it, yes, we'll just put it out loud.
Fearlessly.
I don't know, desperate, but he certainly
he is missed.
He's missed. He does a really good job of running this show.
Yeah, keeping us all together.
in case you do a very fine job of it as well, but I know it also stresses you out a little bit. So
it's not just the show. I think we take for granted all of the back of house stuff that he and Sonia are just keeping on the rails that we don't without him we are learning as we go, keeping it going. My final thoughts, I was just gonna flip it back to posted in the article today. The NWSL draft was last night. The ACC had 19 of the 56 selections.
Oh wow,
that's a lot.
And
that's a little percentage there.
And the most came from the team that didn't really do that much in the conference. UNC had 6 players selected. They had the first 2 picks in the draft.
I kept seeing that baby blue pop up in social feeds. It was like, really? Did they have that good of a year?
They didn't really. Yeah. They finished 4th in conference. They didn't make the Final Four. They were a 3 seed. Just not that
interesting.
Yeah, not that exciting as far as the team goes, but the players obviously were very good. Unfortunately for everybody else in the conference, Florida State didn't lose that much.
Yeah.
They were fantastic. They won the conference. They won the tournament, the NCAA tournament. And they only had 3 players drafted. Most of their team is going to return. The other ACC teams, Clemson had 4 players selected. Notre Dame and Pitt both had 2, and then UVA and NC State had 1 player each selected. BYU was the second most drafted from team with 5, which is a little interesting. UofL, no Cardinals selected for the NWSL draft this season, and interestingly, of the 19 players selected, none were selected by Racing Louisville, who had 4 picks. I think that both of those teams, Louisville and Racing Louisville, will be looking for some improvement next season.
There sounds like there's some real excitement in racing.
Yeah,
with new coach.
Yeah, I think there's maybe propensity for more improvement on that side, maybe than the university side. But we did see things to be excited about near the end of the year from the University of Louisville, and so hopefully in the next couple of years we are talking more about their postseason success and players seeing some more red show up on Jeff's social feeds on NWSL Draft Night.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
As that goes. Thanks to everybody for joining us again this week. And as always, go Cards.
Go Cards.